YouTube, what is going on? I'm going to try to make this video quick. I've already made it twice. Both times it went over 30 minutes, and I don't want it to go more than 15 or so. Basically, this is the latest diorama. It is, let's see here, probably, no, I can get a pretty close estimate here as to the dimensions. 12 and 9, so it's about 21 inches by 14 and a half. And as you guys know, if you follow me on Instagram or if you have followed this channel for any length of time, these little dioramas that I do, I tend to be stuck in a east-west rut with the paved road, always running east-west, always towards the front of the layout. The reason that the orientation of my layouts is so basic and non-creative is because I make them for practicality. And in order to shoot videos or photographs of your diecast, practicality is maybe not the most important thing with the diorama, but it's maybe second or third most important thing. So with this layout being almost 2 feet wide, I thought I would break the mold and split the layout with a north-south paved road. And I knew that I wanted to have an overpass. So I built a bridge, and the idea was I was going to do a train track on the overpass. But I ended up not being able to find any track. So what I did is I just paved the overpass. I was going to do an old, like really old weathered road. But then I came across some railroad tracks. So now I need to finish the top part. And there's a lot, it doesn't look like much, but there's a lot that needs to be done because the track needs to be painted and weathered. All of the ties need to be painted. The rail needs to be painted and weathered. And then I've got to paint the asphalt road brown and add dirt to the top of it and grass and gravel and terrain. And then I have to ballast the track. So there's a lot to do, but I'm kind of excited to do it because I've always wanted to do a train track and I've never done that. And it's kind of ironic in a way because these dioramas are essentially model railroad layouts without the railroad. So that's all that's left to do to this layout. So this is your AK Terrains asphalt. It's kind of my go-to. I pretty much won't do paved roads without this material anymore, just because the result is so spectacular and you can accomplish any type of road that you want. So if you want like a brand new freshly paved road, you can do it. If you want a drag strip, you can do it. If you want a really beat up cracked road, you can do it. You can do all of it. You can paint the material to get whatever faded look or tone that you're going for. So this is my go-to. I am somewhat stocked up on it. I have 2 full bottles, so that's enough to make quite a few dioramas. And also, on this diorama, I used the AK Terrains concrete, which is what this is. Now, this is only the 3rd time that I've modeled the concrete, so I'm still kind of figuring it out. I don't really know what I'm doing as far as, getting the right look. I think the texture is probably a little bit too coarse for S scale. but I definitely do like it. Now, you could use this for the paved road too if you wanted to. It is a different texture. It doesn't have a tar look to it, but it does have a textured look that would make a really good road. And the thing about this material, whether it's the asphalt or the concrete, is that once it cures, you can paint it and weather it. Now, I got AK Terrain's beach sand and desert sand, I think, and I messed around with it a little bit and I didn't like it at all. So for this diorama, this is real dirt. I actually went out to the desert and scooped up a bucket of dirt, sifted it out into 3 different grades, and this is the result of that. The thing with this is that I did paint it after I applied it and glued it all down. The dirt here, I'm in the Sonora Desert and it's just red. It's red dirt. So when I glued it down, it was too much red and it was one tone. So it just didn't look right. So after gluing it all down, I mixed some grays and tans and I gave it all a good wash. And I think it looks a lot better now than it did. But you can see the different consistencies of dirt and gravel that I used. The fine dirt, it goes over the entire thing, and then the coarse dirt and the medium just kind of get scattered about, which is basically what you see here. That's what I have up front here. And it's what we have up here, as well as, see if I can get that to focus, as well as over here by the rock, which this is just plaster of Paris. I just carved it out and painted it. It's not a very good looking rock. I think the paint job on it is okay. I just did the leopard technique, but the sculpting itself is pretty not that good. And then everything else over here is the same as the other side. But all of this stuff, all of the gravel, it's all fixed. So if I dump this diorama upside down, nothing's going to come off of it. And then for the retaining walls or the bridge abutments, it's just balsa wood that I tried modeling into concrete. Now for this concrete lot, the original plan was I was going to have the dirt path run all the way across the length of the layout, crossing over the paved road and continuing over here. But for some reason, after I had the road done, when I was getting ready to apply the dirt, just the space over here looked like I could do a little bit more with it, since I knew I was going to have a decent looking dirt path over here. I put a concrete pad here with the plan of scratch building a structure for a convenience store or a general store. So I scratch made this structure, and it ended up being, well, I'm calling it a motel and slot machine lodge. It's a very ghetto building. I did use the Greenlight Great Outdoors sign for it, but this is all scratch built, as you can tell. It's very not very good quality. and it's made out of balsa wood. Just cut out the 7 pieces that it took to make the structure. You got the 2 sides, the front and the back. So that's going to be your 4. And then you have your 2 pieces for the roof, which is 6. And then the awning made 7. So after gluing all of that together, by the way, the most time consuming part in scratch building one of these buildings is putting the windows and doors in. And I did shortcut it with this because I had these plastic doors and windows. Like, I've been doing these dioramas for so long that I have like a huge plastic bin of supplies. So anytime I'm doing something like this, I'll dig through it to see what I have that I can use. But after getting the windows and door put into the front wall, after doing that and cutting out the rest of the walls, I just glued it together. And after gluing it together, you just decide what kind of awning you want to have on it. I would do the awning different now. You can see the asymmetry of the structure, given that I don't measure. I just kind of line it up and cut, because I'm dealing with balsa wood. It cuts easy, and I'm very impatient. So, like, perfection for me on projects like this aren't important to me. On dioramas in general, perfection is not that important to me. The world is imperfection. So the natural world is it almost sounds sacrilegious to say it, but it's perfect imperfection. Like, there's no rhyme or reason to it. But when you're doing structures, you do want to try to be a little bit more realistic, I guess. But I knew I was modeling a really old building, and as buildings get to be a century old, they start to get dilapidated, and that's kind of what I was going for with this. And I think this building will serve its purpose. So that's this corner of the layout. It is kind of odd because you have a concrete parking lot. You've got a really old building, and right off to the side of the parking lot, you have a hill that leads up to an overpass with a humongous rock outcropping at the base of the hill just off the side of the concrete lot. So yeah, it's definitely weird, but I've been to places in Colorado where you're in the mountains and you get off the highway in the middle of the mountains, and at the bottom of the hill, right up against the mountain wall, will be like a gas station or something like that. So that's kind of the inspiration for this. And that's basically it. The dirt path, this is the first time that I've done one of these in years, probably at least 5 years, that I didn't use tile grout. This is straight dirt. I have mixed feelings about the result. I think it looks okay. I think, it looks like a storm just came through, or it could be the dirt path during the winter time. Like if it were a snow diorama, I think this would be a perfect dirt road for a snow setting, which, by the way, a snow diorama, very high on my list. I've been saying this for a while, but I think my next diorama is going to be a snow diorama. So that's basically it. That's what I've been up to. Just making this. This is going to be a keeper for a while. This will be my go-to for pictures and video. It really does make a killer display. I've got the light sitting on it right now, but yeah, this would be an excellent display for diecast. So let's see here. Sorry, I have to respond here. All right, so with working on the diorama, I've also been doing commission customs for people. I've actually had a few people send me some cars to weather, as well as I've been doing my own. I started doing a lot of new stuff. Like, for example, this is the tubing that I've always used to lift my castings. The thing with doing it this way, with this method, here's a Greenlight F-150. If you're going to do the tubing method, the axle has to be flush. So a lot of times on the rear differential or on the rear axle, there'll be a rear differential sitting right in the middle of it. If that's the case, then you can't use this method unless you have the ability to file down the differential, which I'm not going to do. If it's a plastic base, I'll take a knife and just cut it off. But that's the tubing that I use. When I scratch built the car hauler trailer, which I don't know if it was in the last video. It wasn't, because it's been a long time since I've done a video. If you go to my Instagram, I've been scratch building trailers. So, well, I've done two. I did a Smitty built Scout off-road trailer, and I did a heavy-duty car hauler. And when I did the car hauler, the axles were so wide that none of the Greenlight axles would work. So I went and got this, which is just piano wire, I think. I think that's what it is. Hell, I don't know. Where did I see that? Yeah, music wire right there, and it's the .039. So if you get the .039 music wire with the 3/32 aluminum tubing, it's a perfect combination. The wire will run right through the tubing. This is aluminum tubing, so you can cut it with an X-Acto knife. You just roll it and you'll get a nice clean cut. So I've been doing a lot of that mostly with K5 Blazers and certain pickups. Like this one here, for example, is a custom build that I did. This one takes, it took 5 different cars to make this. So the rack came from an Auto World Jeep Wrangler. The front and rear bumpers came from a Greenlight Ford Bronco, the orange off-road one. The wheels and tires came off of, the wheels came off of a Greenlight Jeep Cherokee. And then the tires came off of a Johnny Lightning. And then, of course, you have the F-150 itself. So this is a really cool, really clean-looking casting from Greenlight. But, as is the case with many of their castings, the stock stance on it is terrible. It's horrible. It looks really bad. But, thankfully, they did make the axles flush on this. So you can see both the front and rear. Now, on the rear axle on this, there is a little bit of a differential, but it's very subtle. So if you get enough glue underneath on both sides of the differential, then you can get a good bond. And on top of that, I slice with an X-Acto knife. I slice a diamond pattern into the base where I'm going to glue the tubing so that it gets a better bite. So that's it. And then once the tubing is down, I will paint it. I'll paint it black because it hides it when you're doing pictures and video. But I love this truck. I love the way it came out. I wasn't sure that the Bronco bumpers would be interchangeable, but it turns out they are. So, good to know. And then, I wanted to weather it. Hang on. I wanted to weather it because I'm not a big fan of the new car look where it's all shiny and glossy, and I want my diecast cars to look like real cars that you'd see on the road. And if you see a 95 F-150, it's not going to look brand new. So I didn't want it to look completely roached out, but you can see the weathering I did. Just real subtle little spots here and there of rust. But when I clear coated it to prep it for the weathering, the tampo bled really bad. So the red panel on both sides is a tampo, and it reacted with the clear coat. So that's unfortunate. But overall, I still think it's a really cool truck. One of my favorite 4x4s that I've done. And I've been so focused lately on the Land Cruisers. So it's nice to mix in a domestic truck. Here's another one I've been working on. This one has quite a bit of work in it. The rack is not fixed yet. I'm still undecided as to whether or not I'm going to use that rack. And I might do another one of these just because I didn't go high enough on the rear axle. But this thing came out really good, and I figured out the key to making this Cherokee look good when you lift it. And the key is you have to space the wheels. You want the wheels to stick out just a little bit, because if they don't, the width of the tires in combination with the size and scale, or the size and proportions of the casting, it makes it look disproportionate. So if you space the wheels so that they're sticking out a little bit, it gives it a really nice aggressive stance. And I love weathering red cars because that Tamiya matte coat, I mean, look how awesome this faded red looks. It looks really good, and there is a little bit of subtle weathering that went into the car, like mainly just the door jambs, the rocker panel, the front rear bumper have quite a bit of weathering, which all I did is I just did a black wash. And that's the other thing, is I got this AK interactive paint, and the color is black rubber, and I painted these tires, and I love the way it looks. I'm going to start painting my tires. Hang on, let's see. That's not going to work. Dang. I was going to show you like the difference between what they look like painted before paint and after paint, because it's a significant difference, and the painted tires look so much more realistic. So to do this one was kind of tricky. You have to pull the axle housing off of the base, and then what you have to do is you have to lift the axle housing. So what I did, I have some styrene strips, and I just cut them down. You can see them up underneath the axle housing. And I only did 2 strips, but I should have done 3. It's enough, 2 is enough for the front, but it's not enough for the back, at least not with these wheels and tires. So I should have gone 1 more, maybe 2 more. And then after that, I spaced the wheels out using the same aluminum tubing that I used to lift my cars. And this is the first time I've ever done that. I've never even thought to do that. There's quite a few other customs that I've done where I should have done that, but I just didn't even think about it. But when you do that, it really makes for a nice look. And so, well, there I am. I'm at almost 30 minutes again. So that's going to do it for the video, guys. Thank you for watching. And that's it. That's all I've been up to. Just making dioramas and customizing some premium detail cars, weathering stuff for people, castings for people. And also, I've got another hobby that I put a lot of time into. So I've been spending a lot of time with the hobbies lately. So probably fixing to be taking a break here soon and focus a little bit more on the family. But I am curious to get your thoughts. Mainly on the diorama. I really don't care what you guys think of the cars, because the cars is just what I like. So, but the dioramas that I do, I'm always looking for feedback. So, but that's it. So I'll holler at you guys at the next Diecast video.